Moving ahead with the next session on the evolution of ransomware, advanced tactics, techniques and procedures, and proactive defense mechanism by Mr. Prianshu Khandwala, CISO, Head Information Security from Sun Pharma. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Prianshu? Prianshu is a visionary security leader with experience of building security practices from grounds up and maturing the same over a period of time. Strongly support the business drivers and enable the organization for the go-to market strategy. Provide solutions that align with and enable the business while constraining or mitigating risk. Handle team of more than 10 resources in-house and external, and a strong believer in teamwork and a situational leadership. Currently working in security management with progressive contribution to the below skills. A veteran security expert with record of success in providing vision, strategy, and leadership for worldwide programs. He has experienced and highly skilled in communicating with C-level executive at a strategic level, aligning requirements with appropriate technology security solutions from program management, process improvement, operations, and change management objectives. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Where's the Josh, guys? Come on, we are a security team and we are responsible for protecting our environments, our companies, and actually our nation. Good morning, guys. Good morning. That's better. Great. Okay, I have a slide changer? Oh, great. Super. Right. So I think Sumnesh ji spoke about the digital threats. Sumnesh ji spoke about how we should protect the data, right? But there is also a mindset on how do attackers think, right? Because why cyber becomes such a critical element in our day-to-day life. I mean, we all want everything at the tip of our buttons. We want everything available on a mobile app or a computer screen, which means there is a lot of digitization which is happening, right? And if digitization is happening, which means there is some data flowing from one point to B point, there is always a possibility of a man in the middle attack, right? There can always be a person sitting in between trying to interject what is happening. Or he may want to compromise the source or the destination, right? These are the three possibilities, right? Now, if you are looking at any kind of an adversary or a hacking group, right? Every time if they have to make an impact, they will always think innovatively. They will think something different, something that you have never encountered, right? For them, they have to be right once. And as practitioners, we have to be right always, right? So on that note, I thought of putting some thought process and trying to put a method to the madness, right? I think consider this scenario as COVID, right? Now during COVID days, when initially we did not have the right root cause on why this virus was now spreading and all of it, there was a lot of chaos. Over a period of time, we had set of advisory guidelines coming up, right? So we were able to contain. Post which we had a vaccine coming up, we were able to remove or we were able to extradicate COVID. And how many COVID cases do we hear right now? Very few, right? We can count on our fingertips. Similarly, ransomware and cybersecurity also go in a similar way. A lot of companies across the globe have tried to put some kind of a framework on how can you decode or how can you think from an adversary's perspective or from a hacker's perspective, and how you can put up prevention mechanisms, detection mechanisms, and reactive mechanisms, corrective mechanisms, right? So I'm going to touch base upon it. I think the topic talks about some kind of a background, right, on how did the ransomware as a service came up, how did it started, right? So I'm going to touch upon some of those points. So this is how I'm going to schedule my presentation today, 4 points, and trying to speak about how it happened, what happened, and how did the evaluation happen, right? You know, in 1989, there was an AIDS conference in some Western country, right? There was a disgruntled doctor. Because probably he did not get the right attention or whatever happened, he sent a floppy disk to all his participants. And that floppy disk had an obfuscation code. The minute you put in the floppy disk and executed the floppy disk, it went and obfuscated the entire data. Now, that was the first time that something similar to a ransomware happened, where the user could not access his own data on his own computer, which means this particular gentleman used the resources of the user, ran a code, used the memory, used the resources, and made the data unavailable, right? Now, after that, obviously, he wanted to make money, and that time we did not have such smart SWIFT and banking systems. He sent a postcard to everyone saying that please pay me $189, right? And that's the way, this was the first instance that I could figure out or find on the internet that how did this actually start. After that, obviously, this thing was taken care, but in 2000s, right? People said obfuscation was easy to decode because you could always have a decryptor, you could put that data, you could do a reverse engineering. So that's when people started using elliptical algorithms, right? But this was again a very basic obfuscation technique, and it required a lot of persistence and effort by the humans or by the individuals to push it across. Then came the cryptocurrencies, the advent of cryptocurrencies. When people said, people use the same obfuscation code, but then the ransom payments and all of it were requested using cryptocurrencies. We should be mindful that ransom payments are not allowed in any geographies across the world, right? But that's a disclaimer I would want to talk about. Now, here again in 2013, it was again very, very specific, and an individual had to make it happen, or a group of teams had to make it happen. It was not an automated process. In 2017, when we saw WannaCry and Petya, one of the largest ransomware attacks, one of the largest companies got impacted, and it was completely weaponized, right? If that particular malware sat in your system, it could propagate across your networks, right? And that caused disruption, which means in 2017, if you have one entry point, and if this particular malware gets undetected in the systems, in the network, boom, right? Obviously, it was always a cat and mouse game, right? And then in 2023, people thought 2017, you could only impact one country. What about the suppliers who are tightly integrated? And in digitization, we would all want EDI integration. We would all want our partners, our courier partners, all to integrate. You want the SAP systems to integrate to the banks so that the payment reconciliation and all of it can happen, right? So that's when came the thing of double extortion. You not only impact the main target company, you also strike these suppliers. So the supply chain attacks started coming in, right? I mean, supply chain attack is much larger topic, but here typically because you have an integrated system, you are able to propagate across the suppliers and cause more impact. Come on, guys. I hope there's no DDoS on this, huh? What's happening? Not changing. Oh, next one. All the means, but you can't do anything about it. Yeah. Oh yes. No. Next one. Nice. Next one. Previous to this. Previous to this. Oh yeah. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. Yeah. That's all. Hold on. Okay. I think here I've tried to explain the evaluation process. If I look at, is there a pointer? Okay, forget it. Okay. Initially, it was all human operated, as I explained. You know, humans had to sit behind the scenes to make an impact. Then it was more of cyber physical systems. You had remote execution of some of these malwares happening. And then why I'm talking about the burrowing and the lateral movement, because today an average time to detect a perpetrator sitting in your system, you know, Again, there are different surveys, but it goes anywhere between 288 days till the time you find a person sitting in the system. Some of these attacks are very low and slow attacks, and you actually don't know what's happening because many times your SOC, your SIM services, your EDR services are not able to detect, right? Because they are very low and slow attacks. You don't see that major action happening, and that's the reason. Obviously, once they are fully sure, once they know that this is the target and they've captured the data, that's when they start the encryption services and they try to connect to the command and control, and then that's when they black out on the overall thing. And post which, you know that the ransom notes comes in, the cryptocurrency wallets are shared with you, and you are expected to make the payment unless you are able to decrypt. There are a lot of these websites, and a lot of these perpetrators have been busted by the FDAs and some of them, where they have actually given the decryptors and published on the internet, right? There are many websites that give you these decryptors. I think this is something as security professionals we should know about in case we get impacted. Right. Any idea what am I talking about out here? Well, it's just a meme. It just says that if cryptocurrency was a stock or a ransomware was a stock, this is the kind of impact that we are seeing, right? Initially, in 1989, the impact was much smaller. The ransom requirements were much smaller. But as we are in 2023, with CLOP ransomware and triple extortion, the kind of needs or the kind of demands that we are seeing from these cyber perpetrators is just going exponentially. You know, it's like a stock market graph. It's just a meme that we are just trying to show out here. Right. Now, obviously, we spoke about how we get impacted. But what are the defenses we have? How have the defenses changed over a period of time? We started with basic fundamental antivirus solutions, right? To encrypted backups, air-gap backups, all of it. Then we are talking about EDR solutions, implementing zero-trust networks, give access to what is really required and cut off everything else, right? Need to know basis. I think some of these are basic fundamental principles that we have in place, but the challenge today is how best are we implementing it? What are the health checks that we have in place, right? So that's what we are talking about. I think this is a very, very famous Gartner slide that we see, right? But again, these are some of the traditional way in which all of us handle a ransomware protection thing, you know, because ransomware is just not about one point solution. It's a continuous process. It starts from prepare, prevent, detect, remediate, and recover, right? When I say prepare, obviously you need to have your backups, you need to, and we speak about people, process, and technology, right? What is the people piece of it? The phishing trainings and all of it. See, a user who's sitting in the environment, if anybody has to reach him from an external world, email is the easiest way to do it, right? Now we all agree? So, can I train my users to identify what is a lookalike domain and what is a real domain? Can I have security solutions or email security solutions which can clearly point out if there's a mail chain going on and you see a change in the domain, can it point it out? So that the user is aware and he does not fall a prey to a phishing attempt. He does not download a file, he does not execute a file, right? Second is security hygiene. Can I reduce the rights of the end users in terms of the admin rights and all of it, so that even though if a user falls prey to a particular link, he does not get impacted, or there is some kind of proxy solution or some kind of if it's a new URL which we don't know, can it run in the sandbox first and then it can run into our environment, right? Backup solutions. Do we have a clear backup strategy in place, like a 3-2-1, or there are different backup strategies where you air gap the network. After you take a backup, you remove it from the network, right? Now, this is just to prepare. What about prevent? Cyber attacks are going to constantly continue. So do we have the right endpoint protection solution? Do we have the EDR solutions? Do we have a secure email gateway? Can an email engine identify a domain which is recently registered couple of days back and is trying to communicate, can I give a warning to the user, right? So he knows that this email is registered a couple of days back. Maybe it's created for causing some damage. Mobile threat defense. I think mobile is one vector that we all forget about, right? Today, mobile is as powerful as your endpoint or your laptop, correct? Do we have enough security on the mobile device? Patching and all of it go hand in hand. Again, EDR, network detection response, SWIC solutions will help you detect. Remediate, yes, a lot of EDR solutions can take you point in time and get you to a image which is workable image, right? Even though the damage is caused, it can take you to an image which is workable image. And obviously, recovery and restoration. I think today the biggest ask from the board is how quickly can I come back? Because they have realized that cyber attacks are going to happen. But in how much time can I recover back? Can I give an recovery time objective or an RTO of 30 minutes irrespective of whatever system? We cannot at this point of time, but can we aim to achieve it? The answer is yes. It's about building a strategy. Today, market is cluttered with so many security solutions. I don't want to talk about one versus the other, but if you have the right strategy as security practitioners, I think things can work in place in our favor. Right. I was talking about, understanding the hacker's mindset or the adversary's mindset. So MITRE has built attack and defend framework. If you look at these frameworks, correct? I think it shows time up, but I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. If you look at these frameworks, there are more than 14 domains. In the 14 domains, there are more than 166 techniques and 367 sub-techniques. So let's say if somebody talks about a password spray attack, again a very, very technical term, which means an attacker is in your network and he tries to guess the password, what kind of action has to happen? What kind of response you will give? I think that is also very well documented with the MITRE attack and defend framework. Attack talks about adversary's mindset, defend talks about a defender's mindset on what he or she should do and how it should be achieved, right? So I think this is one solution or one tool which gives you a lot of insight and helps you prepare for the doomsday, right? This is what attack and defend talks about. Right, I've just tried to put some comparison of two frameworks, attack and pyramid of pain. Now, these two frameworks, as a practitioners, we do follow at some point of time, right? If I talk about attack framework, it is much more exhaustive, much more detailed. But if you look at a pyramid of pain, it talks about the top risk or the top actions that I need to take. MITRE attack and defend is a continuously updated model. So today we are running on version 16. And I think every 6 months you see a new version coming in. Whereas pyramid of pain is a more static model, right? I think most of us use pyramid of pain for our day-to-day activities. But today, as we speak, a lot of security solutions are attaching to the MITRE attack framework. I think that's a call for me to quickly wrap up. I think this is what I would talk about, that what will contribute to ransomware defense. I think if you look at these 4 options, or versatility and mapping of threat defenses, behavioral focus, and knowing your environment is much more important. Do you know your crown jewels? Do you know who's going to impact you? Who is your enemy? I think if you're able to put some of these things in place, probably we'll be able to defend better. I mean, no one can guarantee will not get compromised, will not get impacted, but will recover faster without losing any data, without having any kind of business impact, and complying to what the government of India has set for us. Thank you so much for it. Yeah. And I hope you guys enjoyed the session.
Thank you so much for your session. Please be on the stage. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Abhijit Chakravarti, Executive Vice President Cyber Security at Kotak Mahindra Bank, to do the honors.